Nothing is more satisfying than hearing the click of the shutter underneath your finger, or knowing that you've just captured a rare moment and frozen it in time. Most people cannot relate to this because photography is not recognized and not practiced by young people today in today's society. Now, I'm not saying they don't take pictures because that would be a complete lie. What I'm saying is that these pictures that young people take lack meaning, and they lack purpose. So I would like to do something about that. Now, I can't force you to take better pictures, but I can tell you the history of photography, what experts think about it, and how it relates to you. And maybe that will change something. It all started with the camera obscura. This device had the ability to collect the image of something and transform it upside down, allowing the user to trace it onto a piece of paper. But it wasn't until the 1800s when people started thinking, what if we could make this image permanent without having to trace it? So they first tried it, and it was completely destroyed when it came in contact with light. It wasn't until 16 years later that they finally got it right, and they were able to produce an image that was safe in light. So, in 1838, the first picture of a person was taken. This took 22 years to happen because, sadly, you had to sit very still just to take a picture. This was because it took 10 minutes to record the photo, so you had to sit very still. Alright, so the second camera that came out was called the daguerreotype camera. It came out a year later in 1839, and this was simpler than the camera that they were already using, but it still required complicated technical knowledge and toxic chemicals. The third camera came out in 1840, and it was designed by Henry Fox Talbot. This camera was called the calotype camera, and it was even simpler than the daguerreotype camera, but it still involved wet glass plates. Now, the photos that this camera produced had very bad resolution, so it still seemed that photography was not something worth trying. So, fast forward 30 years, they finally invent a dry plate process. Then, in 1884, 84 years after this idea was invented, George Eastman invented the Kodak camera. It was the first small, mobile, compact camera that had ever been invented. So people started to see value in this market, and everyone decided to copy his idea. So it was almost like the age of the smartphones. Once the iPhone came out, there were smartphones everywhere. This was the same idea, but with cameras. So, photography has developed immensely over the past 200 years, and I'm pretty certain that no one in this room still takes their high-def megapixel photos for granted anymore. Alright, we've covered the rich history of photography, but what do modern-day photographers look for? Well, they look for something that is completely normal or out of the ordinary, and they try to capture it like never before. So the humdrum buzz of the city or fresh country fields, the wrinkled sunbeaten face of an older woman, or the smooth sticky tears running down the young cheeks of a child. They basically try to evoke a certain emotion or thought. Maybe the hopeless man that a homeless man feels when he's crinkled up on the sidewalk, or the restless anticipation of children when they're waiting for Santa's grand debut. Now, experts know that it takes a very observant eye to see potential in a photograph. You're probably saying, that's great and all, but how does that apply to me? I'm not asking you to travel the world and become a National Geographic photographer. And I'm not asking you to quit taking random pictures on Snapchat. What I'm asking you to do is try to deliver more emotion and depth through your photos. Try to deliver joy through the picture of your friend in mid-jump on the trampoline, or nostalgia when you take a picture of your baby cousin in his post-meal mess. Or innocence for the hunt for the last Easter egg. I'm not trying to get you to take perfect professional pictures, but I just need you to take more meaningful ones. Although it is important to know the history of photography and to know what experts think about it, it's what you decide to do with it that is most valuable. This art takes little skill and just a smidge of effort, so make the most of it. So next time you click the shutter, what art have you just produced? Thank you.
Good job, Grace. All right.